Last week, we witnessed President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel make world history. One earth-shattering announcement alone is worth talking about for years. Today, you're going to watch my live reaction to that whole press conference. And folks, there's a lot to say. Buckle up, this one is big. All right, folks, you are watching me in the darkness of the studio. As you may have gathered, the lights are not on, but I thought that I would just come in here at the last minute and record something that I wanted you guys to be aware of. And that is the video that you're going to watch is going to be me reacting to world history live as it happens. I chose to watch this video while it was going on, and I was shocked with every moment that surfaced. It was a lot to process, and so much of what you're about to hear is going to be discussed for years to come, and certainly I've already made a lot of videos on it, and we'll make many, many more. But what you're going to watch is going to be extraordinary. And I hope that this video will bless you because there's something very special in it for me. And that is I got to share with you a part of myself. I got to share with you something that was really remarkable in the making. And you got to see my live, raw, almost unedited reaction. Yes, this video is edited because we want to make it nice for you. But my reaction won't be like the Kamala Harris type, you know, let's take 5 takes on this. It's going to be interesting. So I want to invite you to get some popcorn, a soda, whatever you might want. This is going to be a long video, but I think you'll be blessed when you watch it, all right? And then let me know in the comments what you think. Hopefully it will help you understand so much of the nuances with this. And if you'd like to see more of these videos where I'm doing a live reaction, I'll make them because they're fun, all right? I love you guys. Keep fighting the good fight. And please pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for Israel. Pray for the President of the United States. And pray for the whole world. I mean, the world needs Jesus, and that's why we do these videos. That's what it really comes down to, okay? I love you guys. God bless you. Keep fighting the good fight. All right, folks, here we are. We are right now, as we speak, waiting for this press conference to take place. Now, this is the conference between Bibi Netanyahu and, of course, President Trump. At the time that I'm talking right now, I am waiting for that conference to start. I am told it's going to start any second now. I think we got the 3-minute warning just a minute or two ago. I am going to react to this live. So what you're watching right now, obviously, is not the conference in real time, but what you will be watching is my live reaction to the conference and the comments that are being made. There's been a lot of comments that have been made already that are just like outrageous. I mean, unbelievable that Donald Trump has made powerful in terms of pro-Israel. Some of the things that came out of him sitting in the Oval with Bibi have been remarkable. There's going to be a lot more analysis on that to come. So this conference is taking place on Tuesday afternoon. That's where I'm at right now, Tuesday afternoon at the time that I'm recording this. You're probably going to be watching this on Sunday, maybe Monday. I'm not sure what day I'm going to publish it, but again, you're not watching it for the breaking news aspect. You're watching it for the analysis aspect. So you're going to see my gut reaction. I think you're going to be really blessed by the things that you hear coming out of this conference, because if what's happened in the Oval is any indicator as into what's coming up, folks, it's unbelievable. As a matter of fact, let me just play for you while I have a moment a quote by President Trump in the Oval Office when he gets asked about Iran seeking to assassinate him. What he says is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. Let me play it for you real quick.
Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani.
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do. Not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why. Lack of intelligence, perhaps.
Crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. He's the president. It's awesome to watch him step up and lead. But I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable, folks. What you are watching is history being made. The fact that he can actually say, I'm going to obliterate Iran off the face of the earth if they try to assassinate me. I mean, and then to say that Biden should have said the same thing, he's establishing some authority here. Definitely, the United States of America is back. Okay, let me just tell you that right now. Anyway, the conference is going to start right now, so let's go ahead and watch.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of press. Congratulations, you bring them out. You really bring them out. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu back to the White House. It's a wonderful feeling and a wonderful event. We had fantastic talks, and thank you very much with your staff. He's the first foreign head of state to visit during our administration, and
I love the fact that he's already pointing out he's the first foreign head of state. I love that. I think that's President Trump showing the whole world that he's going to stand behind Israel. I absolutely love this. I love it.
Bibi, I want to say it's an honor to have you with us. Over the past 4 years, the U.S. and the Israeli alliance has been tested more than any time in history. But the bonds of friendship and affection between the American and Israeli people have endured for generations, and they are absolutely unbreakable. They are.
That's right. We love the Israeli people, and I do appreciate what the president's saying. By the way, you might want to notice this if you look at Bibi's suit. He is wearing, I believe it is an Israeli flag, but then he's got this ribbon on him. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's this yellow ribbon that I have here, and that basically is a sign of solidarity for the hostages. And I won't take this off until all the hostages are back. And that's actually why I wear this dog tag. It's in support of Israel. And I won't take it off until the hostages are back. And even then, maybe I'll keep wearing it as a sign of solidarity. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought I would say that. I love seeing those symbols there.
Unbreakable. I'm confident that under our leadership, the cherished alliance between our two countries will soon be stronger than ever. We had a great relationship. We had great victories together 4 years ago. Not so many victories over the past 4 years, however. In my first term, Prime Minister and I forged a tremendously successful partnership that brought peace and stability to the Middle East like it hadn't seen in decades. Together, we defeated ISIS. We ended the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, one of the worst deals ever made, by the way, and imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the Iranian regime. We starved Hamas and Iran's other terrorist proxies, and we starved them like they had never seen before. Resources and support disappeared for them. I recognized Israel's capital, opened the American embassy in Jerusalem, and got it built, by the way. Built it too, just not only designated it, but got it built at a price that nobody's seen for 40 years. We got it built, it's beautiful, all Jerusalem stone, right from nearby, and it's something that's very special. And recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that they talked about for 70 years, and they weren't able to get it, and I got it. And with the historic Abraham Accord, something that was really an achievement that was, I think, going to become more and more important because we achieved the most significant Middle East peace agreements in half a century, but the Abraham Accords in particular, and I really believe that many countries will soon be joining this amazing peace and economic development transaction. It really is a big economic development transaction.
And I want to say this, he's right about that. The reason why the Abraham Accords stopped or came to a halt when the president left office was because they did not have the security guarantees anymore. And Biden was so pro-Iran and pro-nonsense that of course they're not going to get. There's no incentivization to get into these types of agreements. So that's why we're seeing this.
I think we're going to have a lot of people signing up very quickly. Unfortunately, for 4 years, nobody signed up. Nobody did anything for 4 years except in the negative. Unfortunately, the weakness and incompetence of those years, those past 4 years, the grave damage around the globe that was done, including in the Middle East, grave damage all over the globe. The horrors of October 7th would never have happened if I were president. The Ukraine and Russia disaster would never have happened if I were president. Over the past 16 months, Israel has endured a sustained, aggressive, and murderous assault on every front, but they fought back bravely. You see that, and you know that. What we have witnessed is an all-out attack on the very existence of a Jewish state in the Jewish homeland.
I want you to notice something that I think is really important here, what Donald Trump is doing. And it's something that we have not seen in American leadership in the last 4 years. And that is the fact that he is not creating any moral equivalency. He's not qualifying his response. He's not saying, but the Palestinians did this, or he's not using the, Antonio Guterres terminology, where he basically says, this did not come from a vacuum. He's not doing any of that. He's saying, no, these people were wronged. It was unprovoked. And the way that Israel fought back for its safety and for its citizens was heroic. I love that. The world needs to hear that more often because it's absolutely true.
The Israelis have stood strong and united in the face of an enemy that has kidnapped, tortured, raped and slaughtered innocent men, women, children, and even little babies. I want to salute the Israeli people for meeting this trial with courage and determination and unflinching resolve. They have been strong. In our meetings today, the Prime Minister and I focused on the future, discussing how we can work together to ensure Hamas is eliminated and ultimately restore peace to a very troubled region.
The goal is to see Hamas eliminated. There's no other thing. It's not like we've talked so that we can come up with some resolution to maybe change the leadership out or whatever. No, eliminate Hamas. Nothing qualified here. No moral equivalency nonsense. I love this about the president. I love our president for this. I love our president for this. This is incredible.
It's been troubled, but what's happened in the last 4 years has not been good. I want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for working closely with my transition team, the Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, who's here somewhere. Steve? Stand up, Steve, please. What a job you've done. What a good job you've done. Proud of you. Done a fantastic job. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Thank you, Mike, for working so well with us. Thank you. We have, in addition...
By the way, I just want to say this with Witkoff. A lot of people were very bothered by him going to the negotiation. But again, the one thing that people don't realize with negotiations is that the person doing the negotiating, especially on the initiation side, like President Trump, he's a chess player while everybody else is playing checkers. So what he's doing is representing the goal of Trump. Trump is saying, I want you to walk away with this. And he's going to do whatever it takes to walk away with that. Now, what Trump is asking for him to walk away with, which in this case was release a few prisoners, let's get the ones that are alive out. They've done that, but they don't know what else Trump has in mind, President Trump has in mind. So this is amazing. And then, of course, the National Security Advisor, especially with respect to input on Israel, is very pro-Israel. And there's so much incredible stuff tied to this. Huckabee undoubtedly is going to be a critical part of all of this as well. And he not only loves Israel, but he loves the Lord. And his love for the Lord controls his view of Israel, which is really spectacular. Things are looking good for this country, folks. They are looking good for this country. I'm just blessed by all of this.
Marco Rubio, who is on the phone right now, listening to every single word that we say, and he's going to be great. And Pete, congratulations. And Scott, congratulations. I see you're here. And Caroline's been doing a great job. She's really probably talked about more than anybody here.
Well, she's a great press secretary. Come on, give me a break.
She's done a fantastic job, and thank you very much, Caroline. We're proud of you. But we'll only be satisfied when all of these problems are solved, and we have the team to solve them, and that's going to happen. And it's going to happen, I think, very quickly. I also strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed like this civilization of wonderful people.
I don't think anybody realizes how significant of a statement this is that Donald Trump is making right now. Unless I'm reading this wrong, what Donald Trump is basically saying is Gaza's done. And he's basically going to be giving it back to Israel to do whatever they want with it. Holy smokes. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm a little shocked here. That is going to be something extraordinarily substantial. Look, Saudi Arabia would jump in on that. I'm telling you right now, the trade corridor issue is gone. The issues that they're dealing with, the secondary issues with Syria and Turkey, drastically different now. Like, I'm sorry, I'm shocked by this one. Wow. Okay, that's going to mean a lot of different things, folks. Let's wait to get some more details here. I'm just overly excited. Let's wait to get some more details, and then I'll provide some commentary on this. This is amazing.
Has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too.
Holy smokes. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I'm absolutely dumbfounded. I'm sorry, like I'm processing all of this live right now. All of this is just, woo. Okay.
We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something.
The people of the area, he's referring to Israel. So they're going to take Gaza. They're going to level Gaza. My guess is they're going to destroy all the tunnels below it. They're going to rebuild it, make it a beautiful shoreline, probably vacation spot. And it's going to be Israeli. I don't think Hamas was thinking about that when they did this. This is this is extraordinary. Like, huh?
Something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region. And we've really done that. We're a respected nation again. A lot's happened in the last couple of weeks.
So just so you understand, what the President of the United States just did in one foul swoop is he basically solidified everything that needs to be solidified to create the condition that will put peace right back into the picture in the Middle East. If the United States is present in Gaza and it's them that's settling everything, they have position over it, they have control over it, then that means the territorial arguments over areas surrounding the Mediterranean are now history, because nobody can go in and assert to be the bully in the situation, because the United States of America is affected. And if they get touched, then America will just basically just let it all out, which would be unbelievable. Syria no longer has the ability to become a base station for another group of terrorist organizations, because the United States, by virtue of its sheer presence, takes away any opportunities for proxying to happen. And then on top of that, what we end up doing is we end up creating a condition by which there'll be so much economic prosperity because of Saudi Arabia now signing in because of the peace guarantees, that you will have what's necessary in order for Ezekiel 38 to come into fruition. This kind of stuff is like, you can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. This is unbelievable. It's amazing. I was just dumbfounded by this.
Are actually a very respected nation again. I ended the last administration's de facto arms embargo on over $1 billion in military assistance for Israel. And I'm also pleased to announce that this afternoon, the United States withdrew from the anti-Semitic UN Human Rights Council and ended all of the support for the UN Relief and Works Agency, which funneled money to Hamas and which was very disloyal to humanity. Today, I also took action to restore a maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime, and we will once again enforce the most aggressive possible sanctions, drive Iranian oil exports to zero, and diminish the regime's capacity to fund terror throughout the region. And
JCPOA, goodbye. Talks of any type of nuclear negotiation, goodbye. UNRWA, goodbye. The largest terrorist organization in the world, the United Nations, goodbye. I just want to stop and pray and say, thank you, Jesus. I have never been more proud of our president than the moment that I am literally sitting in right now. I have never been more proud. I've never felt better about the safety and security of our country than this very moment right now. You think for 1 second God is not going to bless us for this?
Throughout the world, we had no threat when I left office. Iran was not able to sell oil. Nobody was buying oil because I said, don't buy it. If you buy it, you're not doing any business with the United States. And Hamas was not being funded. Hezbollah was not being funded. Nobody was being funded. There would never have been an October 7th. 2 weeks ago, I once again designated the Houthis as a terrorist organization. They're trying to destroy world shipping lanes, and that's not going to happen. And over the weekend, I ordered airstrikes against senior ISIS leaders hiding in the caves of Somalia and took them out. Here in America, we've begun the process of deporting foreign terrorists, jihadists, and Hamas sympathizers from our soil, just as we have people that are extremely evil, and we're sending them out of our country. They came from jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they were dumped into our country. They're gang members. We're getting them out at numbers that nobody can actually believe. And every single country is taking those people back. They said they would never take them back, and they're all taking them back, and they're taking them back very gladly. And I recently signed an executive.
You guys are witnessing history here. I've never been more proud of a United States president my whole life than I am right now of Donald Trump. This is not a political thing. This is just me saying, thank you, Lord Jesus, for doing this. Like, thank you for using Donald Trump to do something so extraordinary. It's very hard for me not to get emotional with this. It's just very hard.
Order combating the vile wave of anti-Semitism that we've seen in the aftermath of the October 7th attacks. Together, America and Israel will renew the optimism that shined so brightly just 4 years ago. It was really a bright, beautiful light. We will restore calm and stability to the region and expand prosperity, opportunity, and hope to our nations and for all people of the Middle East, including the Arab and Muslim nations. Very important. We want the Arab and Muslim nations to have peace and have tranquility and have great lives. I'd like to now invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to say a few words, and we'll take some questions afterwards. Thank you very much.
This is going to be remarkable. Like, I'm just reacting for the first time to this, and I know that I'm short of some words right now because this is one of those, oh my goodness, like, wow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored that you invited me to be the first foreign leader to visit the White House in your second term. This is a testament to your friendship and support for the Jewish state and the Jewish people. I've said this before. I'll say it again. You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House.
I would agree. Yeah. He's great. He's a greater friend than Truman was. It's a huge statement, but it's true. He is absolutely the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House.
And that's why the people of Israel have such enormous respect for you. In your first term, you recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. You moved the American embassy there. You recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. You withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. I remember we spoke about it. You said, this is the worst deal I've ever seen. I'm elected. I'm walking out of it. That's exactly what you did. And I think it speaks loudly for just common sense, just looking at things and seeing them as they are. And of course, you also brokered the groundbreaking Abraham Accords in which Israel made peace with 4 Arab states. We did this in 4 months. Nothing happened for a quarter of a century, but in 4 months, we were able, working together under your leadership, to have 4 historic peace accords. And now in the first days of your second term, you picked up right where you left off. Your leadership helped bring our hostages home, among them American citizens. You freed up munitions that have been withheld from Israel. They had been withheld from Israel in the midst of a 7-front war
I say it's more than a 7-front war. He says it's a 7-front war. I say it's an 8-front or even a 9-front war when you start getting into mainstream media, and then when you start getting into these other commentators that have shed Israel in a terrible light. The terrible part about the munitions that were being held back by Joe Biden, and I've talked about this on multiple occasions, is Israel already paid for those munitions. It wasn't like this was some Ukraine thing where we were just giving away arms just for the sake of going and bombing somebody. This was Israel fighting for its life, fighting in or around Syria, fighting in or around Lebanon, fighting in or around Gaza, fighting in or around some of these other areas that people aren't even thinking about. The effects, the disastrous effects of what's happening right now with these terrorist fronts, with the Palestinian Authority. When you start dealing with what's going on with Iran, let's not forget Iran. That's another issue. How about in Yemen, the Yemeni Houthis? I've already named 7 or 8. And then when you start dealing with the media and you start dealing with the potential issues that go on with Jewish interests all over the world, and the United States of America was going to be so stupid that they were going to forsake all of that? Thank you, Jesus, for this change. This is so incredibly important. This is so important.
For our existence. And you just freed it. You ended unjust sanctions against law-abiding Israeli citizens. You boldly confronted the scourge of anti-Semitism. You stopped funding, as you just said, international organizations like UNRWA that support and fund terrorists. And today, you renewed the maximum pressure campaign against Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, all this in just 2 weeks. Can we imagine where we'll be in 4 years? I can. I know you can, Mr. President. For our part, we in Israel have been pretty busy too. Since the horrendous October 7th attack, we've been fighting our common enemies and changing the face of the Middle East. On that infamous day, Hamas monsters savagely murdered 1,200 innocent people, including more than 40 Americans. They beheaded men, they raped women, they burnt babies alive, and they took 251 people hostage.
No justification for what those savage, barbarian animals did. I watched videos of these men doing this. I heard them in Arabic. Bi'isma Allah, in the name of Allah, doing the demonic things that they were doing. I can never get those images out of my head, ever. Savages.
To the dungeons of Gaza. And after this worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust, Iran and its henchmen in the Middle East were absolutely ecstatic. Haniya praised the massacre. Sinwar said that Israel was finished. Nasrallah boasted that Israel was, here's what he said, as feeble as a spider's web.
One thing I should point out, so if you, I'm sure most of you already know, but just to say, Yahya Sinwar, of course, was the leader of Hamas. At one point, he was the security officers, as they would call it, of Hamas. He's done everything for them on all bunch of levels. You saw the interview that I did with the man who interrogated him. Learned a lot about Sinwar just from that interview. You can go back and watch it. But then the other thing that's so unique and so interesting and so remarkable about this was the statements of Nasrallah. Nasrallah, of course, being the leader. And by the way, when you listen to Nasrallah, it's amazing how different he is, or how different he became near the end of his life. He called them feeble and weak, as vulnerable as a spider's web is what you would, is in essence the way it was translated from Arabic to English. But yet what's so remarkable about that was his speech and his statements changed over time. As men close to him began to die, he started crying while making his speeches. And then as he chose to harden his heart, just like the Pharaoh did, he lost his life. Right after, by the way, Bibi's address to the largest terrorist organization in the world, the United Nations. Let's just call things for what they are, folks.
Well, Mr. President, Hania is gone. Sinwar is gone. Nasrallah is gone.
Ismail Haniya is another interesting story. When they killed Ismail Haniya, they killed him when he was in Iran, literally at a state event. So to give you some history on that, you have Abdullahian, Iran's foreign minister, who's on a helicopter with the butcher of Tehran, Ibrahim Raisi, and that helicopter mysteriously crashes and they both die, along with several other key people in Iran's nonsense. And then the replacement for Raisi has a inauguration type of meeting that this man is attending. And while he goes and he gives his condolences and happiness for the new president, but condolences for the old, and as he goes and he speaks to the, I almost said something I shouldn't have, and this is a live reaction, so I just have to be careful. As he says this to Khamenei, he walks back to his dormitory and he dies at the hands of Israel for an explosive that was planted months before. Which, should it surprise anybody? Did you see what happened with Operation Grim Beeper that happened later on? Ismail Haniya scared everybody. Scared everybody, put everybody on notice. When Khamenei used to do his speeches after Haniya was killed, he would look in the sky. He didn't want to be indoors. Good for Israel, by the way.
We've devastated Hamas. We decimated Hezbollah. We destroyed Assad's remaining armaments. And we crippled Iran's air defenses.
Which, by the way, Hezbollah was the terrorist organization that everybody was the most fearful of. And Israel literally dismantled them in the course of probably 4.5 days. Pretty remarkable to see it. Within 2 weeks, Hezbollah was in essence no more. The head of Hezbollah was cut off. Now the whole snake and the head of that snake is next. Iran. We'll see what happens with that.
And in doing this, we've defeated some of America's worst enemies. We took out terrorists who were wanted for decades for shedding rivers of American blood, including the blood of 241 Marines murdered in Beirut. We accomplished all this with the indomitable spirit of our people and the boundless courage of our soldiers. The Bible says that the people of Israel shall rise like lions, and boy did we rise. Today, the roar of the Lion of Judah is heard loudly throughout the Middle East. Israel has never been stronger, and the Iran terror axis has never been weaker. But as we discussed, Mr. President, to secure our future and bring peace to our region, we have to finish the job. In Gaza, Israel has 3 goals: destroy Hamas's military and governing capabilities, secure the release of all of our hostages, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. I believe, Mr. President, that your willingness to puncture conventional thinking that has failed time and time and time again, your willingness to think outside the box with fresh ideas will help us achieve all these goals. And I've seen you do this many times. You cut to the chase. You see things others refuse to see. You say things others refuse to say. And after the jaws drop, people scratch their heads and they say, you know, he's right.
Yeah. That's why the left hates him. That's why these confused people who call right wrong and wrong right, who are born boys but think they're girls, or born girls and think they're boys, hate him. They hate him for all those reasons. Bibi's right.
And this is the kind of thinking that enabled us to bring the Abraham Accords. This is the kind of thinking that will reshape the Middle East and bring peace. We also see eye to eye on Iran. That's the same Iran that tried to kill us both. They tried to kill you, Mr. President. They tried through their proxies to kill me. We're both committed to rolling back Iran's aggression in the region.
I don't think anybody realizes what Bibi just said or what he did. Bibi may have just disclosed some things that the United States of America has kept very quiet. We have all but acknowledged the fact that Iran has tried or said they were going to try to kill the president of the United States. For the first time ever, we're hearing a world leader say that Iran has actually made legitimate attempts on the life of our president. Things are getting very real, very quick, folks. Very real, very quick.
And ensuring that Iran never develops a nuclear weapon. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, Israel will end the war by winning the war. Israel's victory will be America's victory. We will not only win the war, working together, we will win the peace. With your leadership, Mr. President, and our partnership, I believe that we will forge a brilliant future for our region and bring our great alliance to even greater heights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, baby. Very nice. Thank you. And J.D. Vance, everybody. J.D., please, Vice President, stand up. He's been doing a good job. He's been working very hard on all.
I'll tell you something I really like about J.D. Vance. What I like about him is that he's not a sitting duck VP like many of the VPs were. He's not like a Pence. He's certainly not like a Kalama, like for Calamity. That just came out. That was Freudian. It was a Freudian slip. Not like Kamala, whatever you want to say. Nothing like her. He's been very active, implementing wholeheartedly the agenda of the president, the agenda of the American people, and he has been uniquely and remarkably articulate about the mechanics of it all. I love watching his interviews. So, yeah, he's been doing a great job.
All things, but this in particular. We'll take some questions, please.
Oh, boy. Woo! This one's going to be crazy. Here we go. It's question time, folks.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, can a normalization deal with Saudi Arabia be achieved without the acknowledgement of a Palestinian state? That question for you too, Mr. Prime Minister. And Mr. President, given what you've said about Gaza, did the U.S. send troops to help secure the security vacuum?
So Saudi Arabia is going to be very helpful, and they have been very helpful. They want peace in the Middle East. It's very simple. We know their leader and their leaders very well. They're wonderful people, and they want peace in the Middle East. As far as Gaza is concerned...
By the way, they want peace in the Middle East. And let me make myself very, very clear. The only thing that's holding Saudi Arabia back from doing what they want to do with Israel, which is normalization, are the security considerations north of the area that would, in essence, be a portion of the trade route for the new corridor that's south of this area of Rafah, which is probably why Egypt is mounting up all those troops. If the United States is guaranteeing the security component, they're going to be quick to jump on it. The reason why Saudi Arabia wants Gaza so bad is for the same reason that the president of the United States just claimed it, to basically take away the excuse for the holdouts of the Palestinians so that they could move forward with their economic plans. This is Saudi Arabia's dream. MBS right now is thrilled, and I'm certain MBS knew this was coming. I'm certain that's why Trump called him first. I'm certain of it.
We'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of. But
I cannot believe he's doubling down on this. This is not like some pie in the sky thing. He's saying, we're taking it over. It's a wrap. We're there. There's so much about this that I'm just struggling in my mind to process, because my mind is going a million miles per second. My guess is what the president is going to do is he's going to take advantage of the security resources of the Israeli Defense Force, probably the intelligence of the Mossad, and he'll probably be working with the CIA to make sure that they have enough actionable intelligence to destroy anything that would oppose the efforts that they're making. So there's going to basically be a clearing period where they just get rid of everybody. They just move them off the face of the whole area of Gaza. And once that happens, I am almost certain that it will be the Army Corps of Engineers that will start working with the IDF in clearing out completely all of the tunnels, recompacting everything, literally destroying all the buildings and starting from scratch. I'm certain that's what's going to happen. It's going to be something the likes that the world has never seen. I'm like mind boggled by it right now.
Everybody feels that continuing the same process that's gone on forever, over and over again, and then it starts, and then the killing starts, and all of the other problems start, and you end up in the same place, and we don't want to see that happen. So by the United States, with its stability and strength, owning it, especially the strength that we're developing and developed over the last fairly short period of time, I would say really since the election, I think we'll be a keeper of something that is very, very strong, very powerful, and very, very good for the area, not just for Israel, for the entire Middle East. Very important. And we'll, again, have thousands of jobs, and there'll be jobs for everyone, not for a specific group of people, but for everybody.
It also solidifies the position of the United States with respect to, in my opinion, what may be the most strategic part of the Mediterranean, more strategic than that area on the northern border of Lebanon from Tripoli all the way further east. I think it's more strategic than the southern border of Turkey. I think it's more strategic than the boot at Rome. I think it's more strategic than any area, including the sort of bottleneck that leads you into the Atlantic. I am certain this may be one of the most strategic positions obtained by the United States, especially if we put a base there. Folks, it's going to change the way we do business all over the world. It's amazing.
Okay, please.
I think peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia is not only feasible, I think it's going to happen. I think if we had another half a year in your first term, it would have already happened.
True. Many, many more, I agree, many more nations.
I think you can't prejudge and pre-guess how we'll achieve it, but I'm committed to achieving it. And I know the president is committed to achieving it, and I think the Saudi leadership is interested to achieve it. So we'll give it a good shot, and I think we'll succeed.
Yeah, please go ahead.
First of all, President Trump, did you hear from Prime Minister Netanyahu at your meeting guarantees that the ceasefire will hold, including phase 2? And Prime Minister Netanyahu questions to you, why are you refusing to set up a national commission to investigate failure of the process?
Well, I can't tell you whether or not the ceasefire will hold. We've done, I think, a very masterful job.
I couldn't catch what her question was regarding the ceasefire, but it was something to the effect of, why are you setting this up to something like that? I don't quite sure, but it's a ceasefire question regarding Hamas.
We weren't helped very much by the Biden administration, I can tell you that. But we've gotten quite a few hostages out. We're going to get more out. But we're dealing with very complex people. And we are going to see whether or not it holds. We certainly want to have more come out. They've come out damaged in many ways, very damaged people. But they're going to get better, and they're going to be strong, and they're going to have a good life and we hope to get as many as possible out. Whether or not it holds, I don't know. We hope it holds. We hope it holds.
I think that at the appropriate time, which I think will enable us to really investigate what happens, what were the causes of the failures, by an independent commission that will be accepted by the majority of the people.
By the way, this is really important that he's saying this. The reason why he's saying this is because the question with respect to how this even happened on January 7th has become a very, very, very big issue. As a matter of fact, as you guys know, I've spoken about this quite a bit. The IDF chief of staff, Halevi, just recently said that he was going to resign, and he said that he was going to do that as a result of the failures by the IDF under his command partially to keep the people safe. Now, that was a very simple political move. It was really more an anti-Bibi move. It was a move that was sort of created to jeopardize the position of Bibi as the prime minister. Now, this gets really tricky because you also have what is the equivalent of a Supreme Court. It functions very differently in Israel than it does here in the United States of America. And you have some real corruption going on over there, especially the guy who right now is the equivalent of the Supreme Justice, has pretty much appointed himself, and not only has appointed himself, but has been given the authority, legal authority, by the same corrupt people that he works with to make determinations as into when he's dealing with a conflict of interest versus when he's not dealing with one. And he has stated as much that he's not dealing with any conflict of interest. Now, why do I bring that up? Because they are working hand in hand with some of these elitists that sit around the think tank of the IDF to basically state that Bibi is not a good leader for Israel. Now, I beg to differ, and I think most people beg to differ, especially when they see the kind of relationship that he has fostered with President Trump. The other thing that should be noted is that this is a retaliatory effort by these people in Israel because of the president's desire to want to remove the overwhelming lack of balance that exists with the judicial in Israel, because they, in essence, control everything. That also brings us to another problem, and that is some investigators, we'll just refer to them as the Shabak, who are, in essence, not only withholding information regarding Bibi Netanyahu's actions, but are basically finding probable cause to criminally prosecute him over evidence that they're creating. Very similar to what they did with Donald Trump. So they're using lawfare to try to jeopardize the position of Bibi, and it's unjust. So Bibi is saying, I want it to be independently investigated. And he should, because there was even information that came to him that should have gone to him a lot sooner, but it didn't. So there's a lot to be said here, and that's why he's saying what he's saying, and that's why he's saying it with the intensity he's saying it with.
We don't want it accepted by one half of the people and not the other. I think we should have it, and we should find out exactly what happened. I'm insisting on it. And believe me, it'll surprise a lot of people when it happens.
Yeah, the reason why he's insisting on it is because he's actually being honest about the situation. He's not wrong. He's insisting on it because he'll know he'll be vindicated when the real truth comes out, and he knows he won't be the one that'll be criminally prosecuted. He knows many will be. But it won't be him because he stands guiltless on a lot of this stuff. I'm making that assertion based on what I know and based on what I can see.
Kelly, go ahead, please.
President, you are outlining something that is really quite striking tonight. You are talking about... Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister. You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that?
First of all, I just want to make myself clear. She's full of caca. Can I just say that? The United States taking over a sovereign territory is not what's happening here. Gaza is not a sovereign territory as she calls it. Israel still has sovereign control over Gaza. They just gave up control of Gaza, but Gaza is still their responsibility. It still belongs to Israel. So it's Israel telling the United States of America, come assist us in fixing this post-war problem. So don't say to sovereign territory that he's just walking in and claiming. Baloney. It's not true.
Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians?
So that's a problem. See, she's characterizing that land as something that it's not. That land is in legal possession of Israel. Just because Israel allows the Palestinians to be able to rule it sovereignly does not mean that that land is not theirs. This is the big issue here. The reason why Israel hasn't done what Trump is saying he's going to do has been because of the lack of international support. That's kind of a big deal. You got to think this through. The characterization by the media is broken. It's not actually accurate. I'm very excited to see how they're going to respond to this one.
As well.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody.
Look at the smile on BB's face as this is getting answered. And I haven't seen BB's response yet, but I'll bet you BB will say something like it wasn't theirs in the first place. I'm certain of that. Maybe he won't because he doesn't want to be inflammatory. But let's just see what's said here.
Can look, because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that. Bibi?
I mentioned again tonight our three goals. And the third goal is to make sure that Gaza never poses a threat to Israel again. President Trump is taking it to a much higher level. He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism, so many attacks against us, so many trials and so many tribulations.
8,000 or 9,000 rockets. 8,000 or 9,000 rockets a year before things escalated on October the 7th. When some of the skirmishes would happen, that number would go as high as 15,000, 20,000. You understand his position here, folks?
He has a different idea. And I think it's worth paying attention to this. We're talking about it. He's exploring it with his people, with his staff. I think it's something that could change history. And it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead. Right.
President, question for you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So before rebuilding Gaza again, obviously to take all the hostages, and one of them is Netanyahu, an American soldier who is alive. How will you be sure that you will take out all the hostages and then rebuild?
We're working very hard to get all the hostages. The word is all, and we are working very hard. So far, it's been moving along fairly rapidly, pretty much on schedule. I'd love to have them all out at one time, but we're taking them out, and tomorrow more are being released, and over the days more, and then we'll go into a phase 2. But we'd like to get all of the hostages, and if we don't, it will just make a...
Ooh, pay attention to this. Pay attention to what he says here. If we don't, then what? Watch.
Somewhat more violent, I will tell you that, because they would have broken their word. Mr. Witkoff and his entire group have been working 24 hours around the clock, and they want them out, and promises have been made to them, and we'll see whether or not those promises will be kept. But we want all the hostages, that's right.
Did you notice what he said? If they don't keep their side of the deal, it's going to become much more violent. Folks, pay attention to what's happening here. The president is basically saying Israel wins. Sorry. I'm so blown away by what I'm watching. So blown away.
I think it will take a month.
Do you support, Mr. President, do you support Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, areas which many believe is the biblical homeland of the Jewish people?
Well, we're discussing that with many of your representatives. You're represented very well.
Okay, so this is a tough question that just got asked. Because he's danged if he does, and he's danged if he doesn't. He has to believe in Judea, Samaria. By the way, when he uses the term Judea, Samaria, he's referring to the West Bank. He has to support Israeli sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, because if he doesn't, then he breaks the premise of everything that he's doing. If he does, he's going to be seen as a Zionist under the definition that the general media uses, and it will put him in a very difficult position because it takes away his negotiating capacity with the Palestinian Authority. So he has to tread very lightly how he answers this question, and I assume that's exactly what he's going to do here.
And people do like the idea, but we haven't taken a position on it yet. But we will be we'll be making an announcement probably on that very specific topic over the next 4 weeks.
What he's basically doing is he's creating a window for himself to be able to solidify negotiations with Saudi Arabia. My brain was going way faster than my mouth was. Once he solidifies negotiations with Saudi Arabia with respect to normalization, then he'll come out very publicly on his position with respect to the PA having complete sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, and we all know what he's going to say with that. If he's willing to say, I own Gaza, the United States owns Gaza, I promise you he's going to declare the Jewish sovereignty over Judea, Samaria. I promise you that. I promise you that.
Go ahead, please. Please.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. So you just said that you think all the Palestinians should be relocated to other countries. Does that mean that you do not support a two-state solution?
It doesn't mean anything about a two-state or one state or any other state. It means that we want to have, we want to give people a chance at life. They have never had a chance at life.
It's a very wise answer. That's a smart answer. Again, everybody's playing chess. President Trump's playing checkers.
Because the Gaza Strip has been a hellhole for people living there. It's been horrible. Hamas has made it so bad, so dangerous, so unfair to people. And by doing what I'm recommending that we do, it's a very strong recommendation, but it is a strong recommendation. By doing that, we think we're going to bring perhaps great peace to long beyond this area. And I have to stress, this is not for Israel. This is for everybody in the Middle East, Arabs, Muslims. This is for everybody. This would be where they can partake in terms of jobs and living and all of the other benefits. And I think it's very important. It just doesn't work the other way. You know, you can't keep trying. They just has been going along for so many decades, you can't even count. You just can't keep doing. You have to learn from history. You can't keep doing the same mistake over and over again.
Well, he's right. He's a doer. Look, Egypt didn't want it. They tried to give it back to Egypt. Egypt said, we don't want it. When they wanted to go back to the pre-70s boundaries, Egypt said no. Gaza has been the center of a nightmare for so many years now. The last time Gaza looked even remotely beautiful was in that time period. I remember being raised with stories that my mom would tell me about the beauty of Gaza when she was in her late teens, early 20s. And I'm telling you this right now, that was 50 years ago. It was 60 years ago. So let's be realistic about that. The president is basically holding fast to the truth that if you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, you're out of your dang mind. That's what he's doing here. He's right.
Gaza is a hellhole right now. It was before the bombing started, frankly. And we're going to give people a chance to live in a beautiful community that's safe and secure. And I think you're going to see a tremendous outflowing of support. I can tell you, I spoke to other leaders of countries in the Middle East, and they love the idea. They say it would really bring stability, and what we need is stability. Yes, sir, please.
That's heavy.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Are you still committed to imposing sanctions on the ICC, despite the move being stalled in the Senate? And please, a question for the Prime Minister as well. The President has been very clear about his desire to achieve a deal with Saudi Arabia. How do you settle this if Israel is required to renew the war against Hamas in the future?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question. I think it's a bit of an entrapment question. It's typical of the media that exists here, and I think it's pretty remarkable. I think if the president is the kind of genius that I think he is, he's going to defer that question straight to Bibi first, and then he's going to make a comment with respect to the ongoing problem with the potential war machine that he's implying exists. So this is all very, very interesting stuff. But the reality of it is, the premise of the question is designed to entrap the world leaders. It's not based to bring, it's not created to bring clarity to the matter. It's a question that was incentivized by the people that own them to want to create the havoc by making these sort of ideas. Okay? They're in essence making a statement by asking a question. So to give you an idea of what that looks like, if you thought somebody was guilty of something, let's just say you thought they were guilty of stealing a cookie, you would not say, "Did you steal the cookie?" Because by saying that, you would imply that there may be a possibility that they didn't. So you would go to them and you could say, "Where were you when you stole the cookie?" The fact of the matter is, or the matter of the fact, or the fact of the matter of the fact is that I made a statement with the question. The question is rhetorical in nature. It's a different type of rhetorics, but I've basically already made a statement, and that's what he's doing in this question. To understand that, especially when he uses terms like Israel, or if Israel is required to renew the war against Hamas, it's the wrong question being opposed, because the premise behind the United States of America taking control of Gaza is to eliminate Hamas. They can't renew a war against Hamas if Hamas is gone. That's the premise here. So it's amazing. It's like the media just wants to see destruction. It's so insane to me.
Go ahead, Bibi.
Oh, see, he did it. He did what I thought he would do. He told Bibi, go ahead and answer it. Makes sense.
I think everybody understands that just as the president fought and defeated Al-Qaeda and ISIS, that we can't leave Hamas there because...
See, now he's smart, because I know where he's going here. And this is a fun game for me to play, to see if I can predict this and understand it. The reason why he brought up Al-Qaeda, because if you think about it, when you look at Hayat Tahrir al-Shams, HTS in Syria, they are Al-Qaeda in essence. If you let them go, you say you defeat them and then you let them go and let them rebuild, they'll rebuild. Someone will fill the vacuum, which is why you have to remove them completely and not give them a place to regather. That's probably where he's going with this.
Hamas will continue the battle to destroy Israel. They'll do, when in this temporary ceasefire,
there you have it.
One of their leaders comes out. You know what he says? We're going to do October 7th again, except we'll do it bigger. So obviously, you can't talk about peace neither with Hamas or in the Middle East if this, toxic, murderous organization is left standing. Any more than you could make peace in Europe after World War II if the Nazi regime was left standing and the Nazi army was left standing. You want a different future? You got to knock out the people who want to destroy you and destroy peace. That's what we're going to do. I think that will also usher in, actually, the peace with Saudi Arabia and with others. And I think there will be others too.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
That's a wise answer. He's saying if we want to make this thing permanent, we got to get rid of Hamas. So why let them linger in the land so that they can destroy it again? No, thank you.
Afghan suffered women as a high expectation from you. Do you have any plan to change Afghanistan situation? Are you able to recognize Taliban? Because I'm an Afghan journalist, Afghan suffered woman. Any comment about Afghanistan? What's your future?
So it's amazing that she's asking this question. She's saying, I'm Afghani. I think that's what she's saying. She's an Afghani journalist. And she's in tears as she's asking this question because she is the victim of the very thing that Netanyahu is saying he wants to avoid in Israel. America abandoned Afghanistan and the vacuum was left. And now these people are back in greater force. She's a living demonstration of this right now.
Plan for Afghan people, especially Afghan.
I have a little hard time understanding you. Where are you from? Oh. Actually, it's a beautiful voice and a beautiful accent. The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this, good luck. Live in peace. Go ahead, please. That's okay, yeah, please.
Prime Minister, you said earlier today that it was tough for you to implement these sanctions on Iran, but you did indicate that you were willing to negotiate with them. What would that look like, and are you in conversation?
Okay, so by the way, the president couldn't understand her accent. Obviously, it's a Middle Eastern accent, so it was a lot easier for me to be able to discern or understand. What she was in essence saying is, what about Afghanistan? You left Afghanistan hanging, not him, but obviously Joe Biden. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I believe actually he did understand what she was saying, but he didn't want to answer the question. I'm almost certain that was the case. That's probably what happened. And it's probably wise for him not to answer that question, because my guess is he's got a plan for Afghanistan, but he doesn't want to talk to anybody about it. That's what I'm guessing. That makes more sense. Sorry, I'm processing this all live as we're going here.
You said earlier today that it was tough for you to implement these sanctions on Iran, but you did indicate that you were willing to negotiate with them. What would that look like, and are you in conversations with them? And the same for the Prime Minister, sir.
I hated doing it. I want Iran to be peaceful and successful. I hated doing it. I did it once before, and we brought them down to a level where they were unable to give any money. They had to survive themselves, and they had no money. They were essentially broke, and they had no money for, as I said, Hezbollah. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for any form of terror. The 28, if you call it, the 28 sites of terror, they had no money for any of it. They had to do their own and focus on their own well-being. And I hated to do it then, and I hate to do it just as much now. And I say this, and I say this to Iran, who's listening very intently. I would love to be able to make a great deal, a deal where you can get on with your lives and you'll do wonderfully. You'll do wonderfully. Incredible people, industrious, beautiful, just an unbelievable group of people in Iran. And I know them well, have many friends from Iran and many friends that are Americans from Iran, and they're very proud of Iran. But I hated to do it, just so you understand. And I hope we're going to be able to do something so that it doesn't end up in a very catastrophic situation. I don't want to see that happen. I really want to see peace, and I hope that we're able to do that. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. I'm not putting restrictions. They cannot have one thing. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if I think that they will have a nuclear weapon, despite what I just said, I think that's going to be very unfortunate for them. If, on the other hand, they can convince us that they won't, and I hope they can. It's very easy to do. It's actually very easy to do. I think they're going to have an unbelievable future. Yeah, please, sir, go ahead.
But unfortunately, that's not going to happen, because we know that they are Islamic fundamentalists, and they are given to the Shiite fundamentalism. I mean, there's just no other way of putting it. They're given to that.
Thank you, Mr. President. You just laid out your your plan for Gaza.
Yes.
Can you lay out your plan for Ukraine and also...
For Ukraine?
For Ukraine, yes. You consider yourself a strong leader. You blamed your predecessor for letting Russia to take over Ukraine. Will you demand from Putin to get out of Ukraine, from sovereign territory of Ukraine?
So we're dealing right now in this...
It's not as simple as that. I mean, I understand the question, especially because he sounds like he's Ukrainian. I understand that, but it's not that simple.
Subject. I don't want to spend a lot of time because we're here for another reason, but we are having very good talks, very constructive talks on Ukraine. And we are talking to the Russians. We're talking to the Ukrainian leadership. It would have never happened. That would have never happened. It should have never happened. I get reports every week, the number of soldiers, mostly soldiers now. The cities have been largely demolished. You talk about a very sad sight to see. We talk Gaza. Well, many of these cities look as bad as Gaza and worse, what's happened to them. And I want to see that end. And I want to see it end for one simple reason, the life of young people being absolutely obliterated on both sides. You probably have 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers dead, 800,000, maybe more Russian soldiers dead. It's very flat land, and the only thing that's going to stop a bullet is a human body. In this case, usually soldiers. And the numbers are staggering when you hear the real numbers in Ukraine, what the numbers are. And this doesn't include the cities that have been demolished and all of the people that were killed. So I want to see it stopped. We're having very good talks, and I think we're going to get it. I think something will be hopefully dramatically, it will rise above everything. You can't let this continue. This is an absolute slaughter that's taking place on the beautiful farmlands of Ukraine, and we have to stop it. We can't let this continue. It is a human tragedy, and we're going to try very hard to stop it. Yeah, please, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Mr. President, what's your view about Palestinian leader Abbas' role in all the regional changes you want to do? And a question for the Prime Minister, what's your view on President Trump wanting to reach a deal with Iran and not a much more active military stance towards him?
Go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
I think the President just said something that I think is the pivot of everything that we're talking about. He said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And we fully agree with that. If this goal can be achieved by a maximum pressure campaign, so be it. But I think the most important thing is to focus on the goal, which the President just did.
But he knows that's not going to happen. He knows that a maximum pressure campaign is not going to make it happen because, again, you'll create a vacuum. And once the vacuum is created, it's going to be filled, and there will be sympathizers with the cause of Iran, and eventually you'll have the problem with the nuclear weapons. And Iran's not going to let that go. They're going to continue their secret operations. They're going to continue doing what they continue to do, and they're going to create for themselves quite the conundrum. I'm telling you, it's not going to go well. It's going to go terribly for them.
And I fully agree with him.
Well, I said it, and he said it very well. It's a campaign of pressure to see if we can get something done. He doesn't want to do what some people think will automatically happen because they're very difficult people to deal with, as you know. But if we could solve this problem without warfare, without all of the things that you've been witnessing over the last number of years, it would be, I think it would be a tremendous thing. Go ahead, please.
Do you have any plans to visit Israel soon?
To visit where?
Israel and Gaza.
Oh, well, I love Israel. I will visit there, and I'll visit Gaza, and I'll visit Saudi Arabia, and I'll visit other places all over the Middle East. The Middle East is an incredible place, so vibrant, so it's just one of the really beautiful places and with great people. And I think a lot of bad leadership has taken place in the Middle East that's allowed this to happen. It's just terrible. And that includes on the American side, by the way. We should have never gone in there a long time ago, spent trillions of dollars and created so much death. So that includes Americans. But, yeah, I'll be visiting a lot of different places in the Middle East. I've been invited everywhere, but I will be visiting some, yeah. Okay.
You know he's going to visit some. Guaranteed his first state trip is going to be Saudi Arabia. And I guarantee you he'll take a detour into Israel. He'll go further north. He'll go into Israel. He may stop near Egypt. He's definitely going to go by some of the normalization agents. If not, he'll meet with them in Saudi Arabia. But I guarantee you, he may even include Turkey in that trip. I'm not kidding. He's definitely going to do it, and he's going to do it this year. He's probably going to do it within the next few months. Certainly his first trip, his first foreign trip will probably be Saudi Arabia. Certainly, and then probably. They don't really go together, but I'm more certain than probable.
Let's go. Caitlin, go ahead, Caitlin. Caitlin, go ahead.
On what you were saying there.
Say it. Go ahead, please.
Just to follow up on what you were saying about the Gazans leaving Gaza, going to other countries. One, where exactly are you suggesting that they should go? And two, are you saying they should return after it's rebuilt? And if not, who do you envision living there?
It's a very good question, by the way. I mean, it really is. It could be viewed as inflammatory, but I mean, those are important questions. I suspect that what the president has in mind is that he never allows the Gazans, as they would call it, to return to that area. I suspect that that's where he's going to say. I think that he's talking about Jews living there or making it an international corridor where lots of people live there who are either vacationing or retiring or something like that. That's what I'm guessing.
Vision world people living there. The
world people. See, told you. That makes sense to me.
World's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world will be there, and they'll live there. Palestinians also. Palestinians will live there. Many people will live there. But they've tried the other, and they've tried it for decades and decades and decades. It's not going to work. It didn't work. It will never work. And you have to learn from history. History has, you just can't let it keep repeating itself. We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent. But more importantly than that is the people that have been absolutely destroyed that live there now can live in peace in a much better situation because they're living in hell. And those people will now be able to live in peace. We'll make sure that it's done world class. It'll be wonderful for the people. Palestinians mostly we're talking about. And I have a feeling that despite them saying no, I have a feeling that the king in Jordan and that the general president, but that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done. And people can live in harmony and in peace. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so as he's saying thank you and he's dismissing, I just want to say this. He's placing the prowess of this type of movement upon Egypt and Jordan. The reason why he's doing this, he's being selective about it. It's actually a brilliant move. The reason why the president is doing this, and again, these are my assumptions. I don't have any inside information. But keep in mind, Egypt made a peace treaty with Israel in 1979. Jordan made a peace treaty with Israel in 1994. As a matter of fact, we were the first American group to go into Jordan after the peace treaty was signed. I was there. I was in Petra during that time. So let me just tell you how consequential this becomes. If he puts it upon the nations who have an active peace treaty with Israel to facilitate this context, they also become the beneficiaries of Israel's protection. They become the beneficiaries of all the subsidies that come from the economics of Israel, and they also become the beneficiaries of the protection and the security guarantees of the United States of America. Egypt and Jordan have to appear resistant to this in order to be able to facilitate some semblance of normalcy with their Middle Eastern neighbors. But the calculation and how they're going to do this has to be predicated upon their awareness of when Saudi Arabia is going to enter into normalization. When Saudi Arabia enters into normalization and you begin to see more of the Gulf states participate, because they will follow the lead of the royal family of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, then you'll begin to see a significant change in how the rest of the world reacts to how Egypt is facilitating that move. What will end up happening is the United States of America will vet the Palestinians that end up moving into Egypt. I think Egypt right now is preparing for this in that they're securing this area of northern Egypt, which is the section of Rafah that connects to the Gaza Strip. I suspect that they'll negotiate, technically allowing the southern portion of the Gaza Strip, south of the Philadelphia corridor, to become sovereign Egyptian territory, specifically for the purpose of facilitating the relocation of the Palestinians. And then I suspect that what will end up happening with the Jordanians is that the Jordanians will require some level of security on the side of Lebanon, on the side of the West Bank, and certainly as you start going further south of Damascus along the Syrian border. The United States will get cooperation from Iraq with respect to the Kurds that are to the north that will take care of that border of Jordan that is to the northeast, so that won't be a problem. And I would suspect that Saudi Arabia, with the help of Kuwait and the help of southern Iraq, will produce a nice DMZ or buffer zone between Iran and the interests of Jordan, especially the side of Jordan that borders, that northern portion of Jordan that borders a southern area of Syria that's referred to as the Golan Heights area of Syria, or the Mount Hermon side of Syria, which, by the way, Israel is currently occupying. So, as I've told everybody, President Trump is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. That's what's happening here. And this is the ideal way for him to actually end the discussion. Look, it makes sense. I'm still dealing with the shock of all of this. Let's see if there's any other questions he follows up with.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I just have to say that I'm absolutely blown away by what I'm looking at. I think that this is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. By now, so my reaction to this conference is probably taking place on Sunday is when you're probably seeing it. Maybe Monday, I'm not quite sure. But let me just simply say that by the time you watch this, matter of fact, I may even play this reaction on Thursday. I'm not quite sure. But by the time you watch all of this, let me just simply say that we will probably hear a lot more about what's pending with the Palestinian Authority. We're going to see a lot of international reaction. I suspect that an overwhelming majority of the international reaction that you're going to see is going to be posturing and not necessarily the official position of the nation. And I suspect that President Trump is going to meet a lot of resistance with Bibi, but I think we just watch history being made. I think we watch something that the world has never seen before, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Folks, this is an unbelievable one. I think this one is wild. It's wild. We'll see what happens with it. So be on the lookout. There's going to be a lot of videos on this. We're going to be doing a lot of talking on this one. There's a lot to be said here. All right? Love you guys. God bless you. This is amazing stuff.